today, join me in creating this nice, simple wire necklace. Remember, if you need any supplies, go ahead and look below in the description to shop with us online. So to do this simple design, we're going to be using 18 gauge wire and 24 gauge wire. You're going to want just a little bit of each. If you want to start with about 12 to 20 inches, depending on if you're doing the back of your necklace and the chain and what you're connecting your little station there to. And then you're going to need about 6 to 8 inches of your 18 gauge. I have just some little crystals here. You can use a pearl and smaller crystals if you want to. And we're using the 18 gauge wire to make this form into that nice, simple kind of bubble look. I'm using a round nose pliers, and really simply, I'm letting the round nose pliers decide on the size of my loops. The reason I'm using 18 gauge is because it's a nice thick gauge and it's going to be a little bit harder to bend, which means it's going to keep its form well. The 24 gauge we're going to use to put a bead in the middle, as well as some beads on the side connecting to some chain. If you want, you can also drop a bead down off of that. That's up to you too. I wanted the wire really to be the highlight. So we're going to be using our round nose pliers, our needle nose plier, and our wire cutter. The first thing I'm going to do is take my round nose pliers and I'm going to hold the wire in at the very bottom of the round nose pliers between the two jaws where I can see the wire hanging out there, but I can't feel it as I'm running my hands over the top. I'm going to be doing a series of loops, spinning around, and when I open back up to make it more comfortable, I'm turning my wrist here and opening it up and then closing it again, and I'm going to complete my loop. I'm going to complete my loop 1.5 times. So you can see it's over top there. I'm going 1.5 times. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do another loop right next to it. So see how I have 2 jaws and 2 eyes of this plier. I'm going to take the wire in a figure 8 and go the opposite way around that round nose plier. So I'm just taking the wire around the opposite side. Open up your pliers gently and pull your wire off so you don't expand the wire by opening your jaw pliers. Now take that second loop there that you just made and put it on the first jaw of the pliers. Take the wire the whole way around, completing that loop again 1.5 times. So it's going to look like a split ring and you're going to see it go over itself 1.5 times. Once again, put that wire in and back onto the round nose pliers to the very bottom. Take that wire, again looking at it, figure 8. The wire's coming over the top, going between the 2 jaws, and now I'm going to take that 18 gauge once again around the pliers, pushing the wire down so that way it's on its widest part of those jaws. Slide it out ever so slightly. Move from the jaw that's closest to you to the jaw that's further away. Once again, push that down and take that wire again 1.5 times around. And you can see I'm turning and rotating my hands in the pliers because you want these loops to stack perfectly once on top of one another. One more time then, put that loop back on the jaw furthest away from you, down to where it stops. Hold your pliers tight together and take that wire around the next jaw, drawing in your mind that figure 8. Take it off the pliers then, and I just pull it up a little bit, move it from that second jaw to the first jaw, and take your wire the whole way around. You can see I'm opening my pliers and spinning a little bit, so that way I get it, so that it's nice and tight right over top of itself. Once again, one more time, we're going to repeat, putting that back in the jaw, and this time again, that last loop I just made goes to the first jaw, furthest away from me, and I take the wire in that figure 8 around to the opposite wire. It gets stuck right there. I need to take it off and reposition it onto the first jaw and then close that up. Take the wire around another time, and then you should have 5 loops right in a row. When you have those 5 loops right in a row, we're simply going to grab our wire cutter and cut the extra wire to finish it off. There I have this first section here of my piece done with my 5 loops right in a row. You can keep doing this if you want to, and this is a cute design even to do for a little drop earring if you want to stop at that point. To continue on to the necklace, we're going to simply take our fingers, hold the 3 loops that are at the bottom, and push those 2 loops that are on the ends in toward one another. See how it's going then into that rounded form. You can just move with your hands a little bit, slowly getting that loop. You can see now you have that little arch section. Perfect for a 6mm bead, which is going to be about the whole size of your loops. If you have a bigger mandrel that you want to bend around, or even a wig jig that you want to bend around, you can also do a bigger bead in there. If I wanted to use an 8mm bead, I just expand this open a little bit, drop an 8 in, or instead of 5 loops, you can always do 7 to make that more of a fit. From here then, I'm going to grab my thinner wire and just about 2 inches of that thinner wire, cut that off with your wire cutters, and get ready to loop this 6mm crystal into the sides of my little loops that I've made. Now to get my bead in the middle, I'm using a thinner wire, that 24 gauge. And I'm going to take my wire after going through the middle of the bead through one of the exterior loops along the side here. Take my wire then, and you can take your bead off right now if you want to. Make it easier to work with. And I'm going to wrap the wire around that loop toward the interior of the piece. I find that I'm going to even trim this down a little bit more. Take my round nose pliers and feed that wire through that loop, pulling with your round nose, nice and tightly. So I have 2 tight coils around the wire itself. Cut off the extra wire, push that down so that it's right next to each other, those coils. Add your bead, and now you're going to repeat the same thing on the other side. Take the wire and feed it through the loop that you've just created. Make sure that your wire on the side here is down toward the interior. So see how it wants to pop up there? Just push it with your fingers down. Grab that nice and tight and go and wrap around. So again, 1 loop is in there. It gets a little tight. You can use 26 gauge wire if you want to. Push that wire through. Grab the wire on the opposite side and pull it through once and twice. And I like to make that as symmetrical as possible. Cut off that extra little wire and then grab your needle nose pliers and give little pinches, making sure those wires are nice and tight against one another and nice and tight against the edge, that they're not going to rub on any clothing that you may be wearing. And that's going to get your bead centered right in the middle there of your design. From here, we're going to create and add some beads onto the side. So if you happen to get the subscription box for the last month for the best box, you should be a wire pro. You're going to take another piece of your 24 gauge wire, hold about 1 inch down, hold the wire below the pliers, and bend 90 degrees away from you. Take your wire so that the short piece is coming straight out from your chest, long piece is parallel with your body. That short piece goes over the top of the round nose pliers to make a round loop. Switch now, just like we've been doing. I rotate my hands from the top jaw to the bottom jaw and take that wire back to 90 degrees. If you need help with that, we'll put links down below to our wire videos. And you're going to slide that then onto the loop that's already there. So see how we made the loop, I was able to put it onto an existing loop and then slide it in so those 2 loops are linked together. With my round nose pliers, just because it's a tight space, I'm going to hold that loop that I just made and coil 1, 2, and 3 times around the piece, making a coiled eye pin. Cut off the extra little tip of wire there. And then I'm going to add my beads. So I'm going with just a soft pink on the outside. Once I put my beads on, that are going to live on the outside of the necklace here, I'm going to repeat that same loop. This time I have beads right there, grabbing the beads. I'm going to eyeball, or you can mark with your pliers about where you have the loop size that you need to make. Hold the beads, bend the wire back that 90 degrees. Fluid motion, go over the top of the round jaw, switch to the bottom, and then take it back to 90 degrees. You'll have then this link that you've created, and before you coil that link, we're going to grab some chain, and you're going to put that chain, just like we did the loop of the wire form that we made, go to the end of your chain, and you're going to tuck that wire, oops, that was my cut one, you're going to tuck that wire into the end of your chain. Once again, pull that chain into the loop, hold there, and bend the wire once, twice, 3 times around to get that nice coiled loop. Go ahead then, cut off that extra wire, and we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. It doesn't really matter how long the chain is done, that's up to you. This works great as a sweetheart necklace or a 16 or 14 gauge piece. Or again, if you want a little drop, you can drop down from it as well. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, cutting off 7 inches of chain and then connecting to 7 inches of another piece of chain to the other side as I add my crystals to connect to the opposite end. So now we're going to do the end or the clasp of the project. Now you can use your extra 18 gauge if you want and just create simple loops. I'm using my extra 24 gauge wire. And just like we did at the start here of the chain, I did a coiled eye pin, added my bead, and made a bigger coiled loop at the end. On this other side, we're going to do the exact same thing, but instead we're going to make a hook for a hook and eye clasp. So I have about 5 to 6 inches of wire, just like we've been doing. I'm going to hold the wire, bend to the back, take the wire over top of the round nose pliers, switch from the top jaw to the bottom jaw, and create my little coil. Use your wire there and go through the last link of chain, linking into that chain, coiling that wire. Generally 3 times is just the look that I like. After 2 times you're secure. Go ahead then and cut the extra wire off. Slide on a little extra crystal. Get yourself about 1/2 inch back. Grab your needle nose pliers and bend the wire completely back upon itself. Pinch that wire at the end so the wire is sitting directly next to itself. From here, I'm going to hold with my pliers right above my bead, and I'm going to coil that extra wire right above the bead. So I'm coiling the end of my wire around those 2 pieces. From here, I'm going to cut off the extra wire, which has created a little bit of a bead cap on my bead. Grab my needle nose pliers again, halfway down, and bend that little section there, almost like a paper clip, back towards itself. Grab the very end of that section and bend it up just about 45 degrees to make your little bend to create your hook for your other loop. You can see how easy it is there to create a nice little eye hook. And because it's a short necklace, that eye hook is going to work great. If it's longer and not super heavy, I would suggest just using a little lobster clasp and connecting to that as well to finish off your necklace with this nice, simple 18 gauge and 24 gauge design. Make sure to give any feedback in the comments if you do any switches or changes, or give your helpful hints for how to do this wire working really, really nicely and well. Thanks so much for joining me on this project. Remember, if you want to see more, just keep clicking and keep watching more videos. Remember, if you need any supplies, check out the description of the video below that offer links to our website, both in the US as well as the EU. Remember, if you haven't already, check out our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making and share with us your projects. We love to see our Potomac beaders and the different designs and inspirations they provide. Remember also, if you haven't yet, hit that little subscribe button so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads.